guys, Miss Naylor here. We're doing Phon today. It is on page 104 of your roots book. Go ahead and highlight that root and underline its meaning. Any word containing Phon always has something to do with sound. A symphony, from the roots sim meaning together and phon meaning sound, is literally sounds together, presumably pleasant sounds. If a sound is harsh or unpleasant, it's called cacophony, from the roots caco meaning bad and phon meaning sound. Whereas smooth and harmonious sounds, especially words or phrases that please the ear, are called euphony. Eu meaning good and phon meaning sound. So our first word for this week is cacophony. It is a noun. It has two roots in it, caco and phon, and it means disagreeable or discordant sounds. Go ahead and highlight that word and those roots, underline the meaning here, and let's hear some sentences.
It's hard to hear myself think of the cacophony created by this protest behind me. It's awful.
There was a cacophony of sounds in Washington Square Park.
I woke up this morning to a massive cacophony created by a tone-deaf pianist in the park.
I would not want to wake up to that. That sounds really unpleasant, silly pianist. All right. Our next word is megaphone, from the roots mega meaning large and phon meaning sound. We'll go ahead and highlight that word in those roots. And it is a noun. We're going to use the definition, a cone-shaped device for making the sound of the voice greater. I think you're going to notice as we go through these, almost all of them, or many of them anyway, have literal definitions we're going to skip over, so be aware of that. We're looking at the second definition here, okay? This is, of course, the kind of megaphone we think about. It goes with our sentence. The cheerleaders all had megaphones. But technically, this is a megaphone, what you might see someone use at a rally or something like that, as is what a director uses. Microphone, two roots in it, micro meaning small and phon meaning sound. It is a noun, an instrument for intensifying weak or small sounds. And I think you're really going to find this commercial from, I believe, the 80s pretty entertaining. It's for the Mr. Microphone, and you'll see how it makes weak or small sounds more intense.
Hey, this Christmas party is getting a little too quiet. I think it's time we liven it up with my favorite Christmas gift, Mr. Microphone. Hey, what's that? Well, you set the dial on your FM radio and testing.
These kids are having a fabulous time with Mr. Microphone. The court...
Right? I know you want one now. Don't lie. You're going to ask your parents for a Mr. Microphone this year for Christmas. I know it's going to happen. Our next word is phonetics. Phonetics is a noun. It is the branch of language study dealing with speech sounds and their symbols. We're going to zoom in a bit here. So it has to do with this, if you look, like the sound that the letter B makes in the word bed, this is the symbol that represents that phonetically. Okay? A knowledge of phonetic symbols is an aid in learning to speak a new language. So when you open a dictionary and you're looking at the pronunciation guide, sometimes what you see are these phonetic symbols, which is why you're like, those are not letters, Miss Naylor. What are you talking about? Well, they're not. They're symbols. They represent certain sounds. So this represents the ear sound, right? This is ooh. Okay? Phonics is our next word, also a noun. Phonics is the use of sounds and letters, sounds of letters and groups of letters in teaching beginners to read. So here we have a little kid sounding out ta-able, table. That's the word we get from it, right? Or we have little kids are sometimes taught groups of words together to help them remember that sound. So double E makes the E sound like in bee and in tree, right? So that is phonics. Have you ever heard of Hooked on Phonics? Worked for me. It's like a program that teaches kids the parts of words to help them understand how to read. Phonograph is a noun, a machine for playing recorded sounds or sounds written on disc, which makes sense because the roots are phon meaning sound and graph meaning to write, so written sound, right? And this is actually the Edison phonograph. So it's playing a recorded disc of music here. Our next word is polyphonic. Polyphonic is an adjective. It means having two or more independent melodies all harmonizing. Now, I'm going to tell you, it has two roots in it, poly meaning many, phon meaning sound, so many sounds. That makes sense. I'm going to show you just a snippet of a TED Talk here. If you've never seen TED Talks before, I strongly recommend you check them out. They're really interesting, and I think this one especially while it does not include a polyphonic sound in this section we're going to look at, the man who's speaking actually created a machine so he could create polyphonic sounds with his voice, which is something that the human body isn't actually capable of doing itself. But he's also just kind of really cool, and I want you to see him. Not gonna lie. So this is Beardy Man.
I'd like you all to ask yourselves a question which you may never have asked yourselves before. What is possible with the human voice? What is possible with the human voice?
So what I love about Beardy Man, other than the fact that he's clearly really cool and can do neat things with his voice, the rest of his TED Talk is about how he was upset that his voice could only make one sound at a time. He couldn't have polyphonic sound. And so he created a device that allows him to record and loop his voice live in front of an audience and create polyphonic sounds with his own voice. So it's really interesting. You should totally check out the rest of it. Again, Beardy Man, polyphonic, multiple harmonizing melodies, right? All right. Saxophone is noun. It's a wind instrument. Now, at first, sax is actually after Aldous Sax, the inventor of the instrument, and Phon is sound, so sax is sound, kind of, is what it means, right? And then here we have President Clinton rocking out on his saxophone. Did you know that he could do that? Yeah. Okay. Our next word is stereophonic. So stereophonic has two roots, stereo meaning solid and phon meaning sound. In this case, it doesn't really mean solid sound, like you're not going to be able to touch it, okay? But it does mean giving a multi-dimensional effect to sound. It is an adjective, IC on the end, usually a pretty good sign, it's an adjective, right? So I like to think about this as almost like 3D sound. So if we look at the sentence here, a stereophonic record sounds like live music because it contains two separate sound tracks. Have you ever like had your headphones in, you like take one ear out and then take the other ear out and you're hearing two different things? Like that's stereophonic sound. It makes it makes it sound live or almost like 3D, like you're in the music. And our last word is symphony. Symphony has the root sim meaning together and phon meaning sound. It is a noun. It means an orchestra or music written for an orchestra. So here you see we have Bass Hall all set up for the symphony to play, and then this is a symphony, right? The music written for orchestra. If you look at the sentence here, though, our local symphony orchestra will give a concert in May. Here they're using symphony as an adjective, so be aware of that. It's kind of like Philharmonic. It can be used both ways, okay? So be careful, be aware of that. Those are all of our words for this week and all of our roots. So we have phon meaning sound, caco bad, mega large, micro small, graph to write, poly many, sax after Aldous Sax, stereo solid, and sim together. You are also responsible for all old roots. Please don't forget to study those. It makes me sad when people don't do well on roots because they don't study their old roots, okay? You are responsible for completing exercises 1 and 2 in your book. For kids who have me, your Kia will be up, and so you're responsible for that as well. And everything will be due on Thursday when your Roots quiz happens. Okay? Have a good week. Best of luck. Study hard.